Alright, real talk. This morning you woke up, grabbed your phone, maybe checked Instagram, stumbled to the kitchen, made coffee, and didn't think twice about any of it. You drove somewhere, or took a bus, or just walked down the street. And the whole time, not once did it hit you that what you just did in one morning would have been the single most impossible thing imaginable to every human being who ever lived before about 200 years ago. Every single part of your morning, the alarm, the coffee, the road, the building you're sitting in right now, exists because of a chain of inventions so long and so unlikely that it honestly shouldn't have worked out this way. But here's the part that's going to mess with you. I spent months breaking down that exact story into something you can actually use to upgrade your own mindset. It's all inside my new ebook, The Evolution of Humans' Journey. If you've ever wanted a clear, fascinating look at human history, psychology, and where we're headed next, this is for you. Here's the best part. It's completely free. I put this on a pay-what-you-want model. So if you want to snag it for $0, you can. If you want to support my work and drop $10, $100, or even $1,000, that's entirely up to you. You set the price that feels right for you. Just click the Gumroad link in the description below, name your price, and grab your copy right now. The invention that made all of it possible, the one that connected every continent, moved every army, built every empire, and eventually led to the world you woke up in this morning, took 300,000 years to figure out. And when they finally figured it out, it started with someone who couldn't even see where they were going. Because here's what the history books never actually explain. Humans crossed entire oceans before they invented the wheel. They sailed to Australia, 60 miles of open water, 65,000 years before anyone thought to put a round thing on an axle and roll something across the ground. That's not a typo. That's not a mistake. That's the actual order in which things happened. And by the time this video is done, you're going to know something about how human transportation actually developed that most people will never hear. Something that changes how you see every road, every airport, every highway you've ever been on. Something that reframes the entire story of how humans conquered distance. And honestly, it's way weirder than you think. Subscribe if you want more of this, because this is exactly what Neurovex does. Let's get into it. Start with what you actually are, because before boats, before horses, before wheels, before any of it, humans had one transportation technology: their legs. And here's the thing most people don't appreciate about human legs. We are the worst sprinters on the planet. A cheetah hits 70 miles an hour. A horse sustains 30 for miles. You absolute best case scenario hit maybe 15 miles per hour for about 4 seconds before you're completely done. Speed was never the point. Here's what the point was. You can walk 20 miles in a day, sleep, do it again tomorrow, and the day after, and the week after, for months if you have to. No other large animal on Earth can do that. Your feet have arches that work like springs. Your Achilles tendon stores and releases energy with every single step. You have 2 million sweat glands keeping you cool while every other large mammal on the savannah has to stop and overheat. You're not built to be fast. You're built to never stop. And in 1978, in Tanzania, a paleoanthropologist named Mary Leakey found a trail of footprints pressed into volcanic ash, 3.6 million years old. 2 individuals, walking upright, side by side. The oldest evidence of bipedal walking ever discovered. And those footprints look almost exactly like yours. For millions of years, that was the entire transportation system. 2 feet, no backup plan. And somehow, it was enough to take us further than any species in the history of this planet. Starting roughly 70,000 years ago, humans began walking out of Africa. Not in one march, not one big group decision. This happened over thousands of years, generation by generation, small groups pushing a little further into territory no human had ever seen. They crossed the Middle East, spread across Asia, reached Europe, walked into Siberia, crossed a land bridge into Alaska, and kept walking south through the Americas, 15,000 miles, without knowing the destination existed. But here's what doesn't get talked about enough. They weren't wandering. Archaeologists have found obsidian tools, sharp volcanic rock, hundreds of miles from the nearest volcanic source. Shells found deep inland, amber traded across entire mountain ranges. These people were covering massive distances on purpose, to trade, to connect, to find specific resources that someone had told them existed somewhere over that ridge. This wasn't survival stumbling through the wilderness. This was networking on foot, the original supply chain, run entirely on human legs, across an entire planet. And then they hit a river. And a river for hundreds of thousands of years was basically a wall. You could walk across deserts. You could walk over mountain passes. You could walk through forests that hadn't seen a human footprint in 1,000 years. But a river stopped you. You either found a shallow crossing or you turned around. Until someone didn't turn around. In 2003, archaeologists found stone tools on the island of Flores in Indonesia, tools dating back roughly 800,000 years. The problem? Flores has never been connected to the mainland. Even at the lowest sea levels of the ice ages, there was always at least 12 miles of open ocean between that island and the nearest land. Which means one thing: someone made the crossing. On purpose. with something that floated. We don't know what they used. Wood rots. Bamboo decomposes. Whatever they built is gone, but the tools are sitting in the ground on an island that should have been unreachable. The crossing happened. And then, around 65,000 years ago, humans crossed from Southeast Asia to Australia. At least 60 miles of open ocean. You cannot see Australia from the other side. You cannot drift there by accident. Someone built something, pointed it at open water they couldn't see across, and paddled. Think about the nerve that took. Think about what that decision felt like, pushing off solid ground into open ocean with no idea if there was anything on the other side. That is the most cold-blooded move in the history of human transportation. And it worked. But there was still a problem nobody had solved. You can walk 20 miles in a day, but you absolutely cannot walk 20 miles carrying a 200-pound animal you just hunted. For most of human history, the limit on transportation wasn't distance, it was weight. Your body can handle maybe 40 to 60 pounds before it starts breaking you down. But the real breakthrough in moving weight wasn't something you could build. It was something you could befriend. Around 15,000 years ago, humans domesticated dogs, first animal we ever partnered with. And one of the first jobs we gave them was hauling weight. In the Arctic, dog teams pulled sleds across ice and snow. A single dog moves about 45 pounds. A team of 6 carried an entire family's camp. But dogs are small. We needed something bigger. About 5,500 years ago, on the steppes of what is now Kazakhstan, humans figured out the horse. Archaeologists found wear marks on ancient horse teeth from bits. Someone had been putting something in that animal's mouth to control it. They found mare's milk baked into pottery. These weren't people who hunted horses, they rode them. And the moment that happened, the human world changed overnight. For 300,000 years, the fastest a human being could travel was roughly 4 miles per hour, walking speed. On a horse, you hit 30. In a single generation, the world got 8 times smaller. Messages moved faster. Trade routes stretched further. Armies could reach you before you even knew they were coming. Donkeys crossed deserts. Camels conquered the Sahara. Reindeer dragged sleds through Arctic snow. Llamas carried cargo over the Andes. Wherever humans showed up, they found whatever animal fit and immediately put it to work. And now here's the part that breaks people's brains. Humans crossed every ocean on Earth before anyone invented the wheel. The oldest known wheel was found in Slovenia, roughly 5,200 years old. Boats go back at least 10,000 years. Horses were domesticated 5,500 years ago. Humans had already sailed to Australia 65,000 years before that wheel ever existed. The wheel was one of the last major transportation inventions in human history, not the first, and it didn't even start as transportation. The first wheels were for pottery, a spinning disc to shape clay. At some point, somebody looked at that disc, turned it on its side, and thought, what if you put something on top of it? The first wheeled vehicles were heavy, slow, solid wood. They cracked on rough ground and got stuck in mud. A horse without a cart was honestly faster than a horse with one. But then, around 2000 BC, someone invented the spoked wheel. Lighter, stronger, dramatically faster. Now you had chariots, speed and cargo capacity at the same time. Roads came after. The first paved road appeared around 4000 BC. And once you had wheels, roads, horses, all working together, you finally had something that looked like an actual transportation system. Trade exploded. Empires became possible. You could move armies and supplies hundreds of miles without everything falling apart. The wheel, the horse, the road. That combination built every civilization you've ever heard of. Okay, here's the part I promised you at the beginning. The thing nobody tells you. Every single transportation breakthrough in human history, every single one, was discovered by accident or invented for a completely different purpose. The first boat wasn't engineered. Someone grabbed a floating log to cross a stream and didn't drown. That was the entire breakthrough. The wheel wasn't invented for transportation, it was a pottery tool someone turned on its side. The horse wasn't domesticated because someone had a brilliant strategic vision for cavalry warfare. It was domesticated on the steppes of Kazakhstan, probably because people wanted the milk. Nobody sat down and said, I am going to solve the problem of human transportation today. Every breakthrough came sideways, from curiosity, from necessity, from someone doing one thing and accidentally discovering it could do something else entirely. And here's why that matters for you right now today. Because the same pattern runs through every major human breakthrough in history, not just transportation, science, medicine, technology, business, personal transformation. The breakthroughs almost never come from the person who sat down and said, I am going to solve this problem directly. They come from the person who was paying attention to something adjacent, who was curious about the wrong thing, who followed an observation that didn't seem to go anywhere until it suddenly went everywhere. The Polynesians who crossed the Pacific weren't navigation experts with advanced degrees. They were people who paid close attention to how birds flew and how ocean swells moved, and trusted what they observed. The person who invented the wheel wasn't a transportation engineer. They were a potter. The biggest leaps in human history were made by people who were looking at something else entirely. If this hit different, Share it with someone who thinks they know how the world got built, because they probably don't know the half of it. And the next video, we go even deeper into the hidden psychology behind how humans solve impossible problems. That one is going to change how you think about your own potential. I'll see you there.